Hello from Mission Control. Hopefully, you are all doing well and keeping busy, keeping safe as we continue on our adventure together. So, we are officially now into week 2 of our learning extravaganza, and I want to cover a couple of things that were just was handed down last week. So, first of all, I want to thank every one of you who actually really, and it's the vast majority of all of you who've turned in your assignments and are continuing to work. And thank you to all those who've reminded me throughout the week if you needed anything, or sent me a message to remind if you needed anything. I'm here for you. That's one thing I really want you to understand, is that it doesn't bother me. Ask me any questions. I will be more than happy to kind of help you, or ask somebody else to help us. All right. So one of the big things now is I want to talk about is the grading policy. All right. It came down last week, and it talks about, or actually they mandated kind of what it's going to look like for the remainder of the year, at least until we are, or while we're working on this online deal. Now, we've converted into what's called a pass and fail system. And what that entails, or what that means, is that instead of getting a number grade, you're going to get either a pass or you're going to get a fail for the 5th 6 weeks and possibly the 6th 6 weeks. So we really need to stay vigilant on our assignments. So I will be continuing to grade them this week, everything you turned in from last week. So please get it all in. And it's going to be based off a rubric that has a 1 through 5 rating. Now, I will tell you this. At this moment, we are just kind of learning all of this online tools together. And I want to make sure that you understand that as long as you're putting an effort and we have some communication between us, I believe virtually everything that you're turning in is going to be a pass, or at least we can get it to be a pass. Okay. Eventually, if there's something that you're missing, what we don't want, and I guess this whole pass fail deal is for someone to just ignore it or just not do anything. If you have questions, we have the remind system, or you can actually message me through Classroom. So before we get any further, let's go take a look at the rubric that I'm going to use every week to kind of give you your pass fail ratings. All right. So if you look here, I went ahead and I've created or downloaded the rubric that I've put into Google Classroom. So you can see this in Google Classroom at any time. And it's a breakdown of a rubric that they want us to use. And it's a rubric between 1 and 5. And so each week I'm going to go through your lessons, and I'm going to give them a rating between a 1 and a 5. And distinguished is the highest of all the scores that I can give. But if you look over here where it says notes and teacher comments, this is a description of what it will entail. And again, I'm not going to go in through this. I would like for you to read it yourself. But I will tell you that this is more of a superior type of performance, right? You've mastered all the skills, and and the work is at a high level, and you're on track with a mark of pass. All right. So again, this is a pass-fail system. Advanced, you did really well, and you're showing significant mastery of the process and the skills. You don't have any significant errors, but you may have a couple, and that's when you'll get an advanced, right? Proficient 3, you have some errors in it, okay? And you have like a basic mastery of everything. And again, this is not a bad grade. A 3 is not bad, but you would get a 3, and then you'll be on the mark for a pass or fail. Now, let me just tell you a little moment here. I'm going to stop at 3 for a moment. For those of you who are, you have really high expectations, and you really want to make sure that everything is a 5 because you are a 5/A student, proficient means that you have a really great grasp of the material. All right. 5 is a rock star, really above and beyond what I was expecting for the assignment. So unless that correlates to where we're at, that's when people will get a distinguished rating. But again, you're still within the pass realm. All right, let's go back and let's continue. I'm scrolling down to the same rubric that's in your Google Classroom under the overview for this week. And the student makes some significant errors. You're going to get a 2. So let's just say that there's a lot of problems with the work that you've turned in. But you're showing that you are learning, or you have learned some of the skills for the week. You'll still get a pass, but you may get a message from me saying, "Hey, you're missing some key parts. You got to go back and redo this, or you got to reopen it, resubmit, and redo it." From 2 to 1, you're going to be having to do extra work to get back, so you can get a 3 or higher, right? Because that's where we want you. So here's a 1. All right. So here's a 1. And it is a work that's turned in that shows minimal mastery. There could be lots of errors or misunderstandings. Well, let's try to avoid all of these by just making sure that you ask questions if you don't understand the assignment through a remind, and we may be able to set up a Zoom. Okay, and then finally we get to 0, and this is where you would get, or not necessarily you, but your work will get an F or a fail. And again, these are going to accumulate. In other words, for every week we're going to keep track of them. Okay, teachers are all expected to do this, and then we'll get an average of failure and passes. And again, more information is going to be coming down. That's that in a nutshell. That's kind of the rubric. On top of that, one more thing. Students in grades 2 through 12, that means every one of you, we're going to have a summative assessment. In other words, we're going to have a final for this online learning, that you've learned all of these different TEKs and so on and so forth. For each class, I'm not going to break it down yet because I'm still deciding what it's going to be. Obviously, every class is different, but I'll get into more of that later. I don't want to take up too much time, but just know there will be a final. All right. This is almost, we're going into the specific specific classes, but I want to let you guys know, if you haven't taken care of your technology requests, you have to do it this week. You have to do it this week. After this week, it's going to be assumed that you've already have all of your space set up and you're working on your lessons. Okay, so it's going to be full blown. This week we're full blown. Next week it's going to be, we're going to be wondering why you haven't set this up, and you'll be behind 2 weeks, and you don't want to get behind. Okay, again, all of these things, it will affect a grade. So please don't feel like this is something that is not important. These online classes are definitely important, and they are being counted. All right. So again, that's it for this general session. Message me through Remind with any questions that you may have. Okay. Again, I'm here for you. Now let's go into our individual specific class instruction for this week. All right, Principles of Law class. Let's go ahead and go into Google Classroom and make sure you hit the classwork again so you can see everything in sequence. It'll make everything a lot easier if you just look at it from the top down. And so everything is organized here. Week 0, week 1, and week 2. So this week we're actually going to be going to the next level on this true crime podcast assignment that you were to turn in last week, or actually last night on Sunday night. So let's continue to week 2. Here is again your overview. This video will be posted in there as well, and it's giving you the quote of the week, the fact of the week, and what you're going to be doing this week. Your weekly learning objectives and your mini lessons. Okay, so we're going to go through that, and this second part is where you're actually going to turn your work in. So again, this is I guess piggybacking off of last week's Friday assignment, and you're actually going to be researching a couple of things. So for this week, and this is all you have to do this week, you're going to select 2 examples. You're going to look for 2 examples of crimes, 2 true crime stories, 1 felony and 1 misdemeanor, and you should know what those are. You're going to notify me when you figure out your 2 examples. All right, you're going to send me a remind message. So just let me know what your topics are, or what the two crime misdemeanor and felonies that you found, 1 each, and you're gonna let me know so I can put your name down in on my list, so no one else can take your topics. For this particular assignment, I'm not going to want people doubling up. Again, so that's number 2. You're going to notify. Number 3, this is what you're going to need for each of those sources. You're going to need 1 for your misdemeanor and then 1 for your felony. So you're going to know the name of the crime, date and location of the crime, classification as a felony or misdemeanor, punishment of a crime, aggravating, mitigating factors considered during punishment decision, other important details regarding conviction of the crime, resource of information, in other words, your sources. So you're going to need all of that for each. You're going to need one for the felony, one for the misdemeanor, and please make sure they're appropriate and your parents are okay with what you're going to be reporting on. All right. If not, you're going to have to adjust. Your parents do have the ultimate say on what you're going to be working on. So again, let's follow through to number 4. This is what you're going to be turning in. This is what you're going to be creating this week. You're going to do the research, and then after you have all your research done, you're going to open up a Google Doc, and you're going to create a script. You're going to follow the format and style of a true crime podcast. And here it says equal amount of speaking time for each partner if you have a partner. All right. Normally, if we were in class, I would have you guys break up into teams of 2 and you both would create this podcast. Unfortunately, we can't do that. For the online instruction, we need individual work to be done. So again, but in your home, if you have someone that wants to be your partner in this podcast, you're more than welcome to have them help you out. All right. So if you do, you have an equal amount of speaking time. Again, this is going to be between 5 and 10 minutes total. Believe me, you guys can really talk a lot. So we've done lots of debates, and you're able to speak for more than 16, 17 minutes. So the 5 to 10 minutes should be no problem for you. Make sure that you've researched all the information. Okay. So then you're going to do is you're just going to basically pick 2 true crimes, write the script. Next week, we'll work on recording the podcast. This week, I just want the script. I want to read your script the way that it's going to be written. All right. And make sure that you send me a message to remind, and then you'll turn in the Google Doc, which is your script, here at this section here. All right. So that's it for this week. And so I will see you next week and with another message and a little breakdown. And once again, I miss your faces, your voices, your personalities, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Until then, this is Mr. Juarez signing off.